Hello, I'm William Ray, lead interpreter for St. Charles County Parks, and this is the banjo, or at least what the banjo looked like in the 1830s and the 1840s. Looks very different from what we imagine the banjo looking like today, which is a combination of both metal and wood and a loud tone that would peel the paint off of a wall. You probably noticed that this banjo itself had a much sweeter tone, and you'll notice there's almost no metal on it at all. This is what we call a gourd banjo. And we call it a gourd banjo precisely because the body is a gourd. On top of the gourd is a goatskin head. You might think it's a bit like a drum, and that's exactly what it is. It's like a drum only, with strings and a neck protruding out the side of the gourd. And so this has a much sweeter tone. A softer tone, but a sweet tone nonetheless. And so this walnut neck that comes out, you might notice it has no frets. And the frets are those little metal wires that go across the neck. And when we push down on the string behind one of those frets, it gives us a nice precise tone. Well, the early banjos didn't have that. In fact, it's very much like a violin or a cello in the fact that it is fretless. So, with the gourd banjo, when it comes to the musicality of it, many things are left to chance. So, what of its history? So the banjo, as we know it, is really a product from the enslaved Africans who came first to the Caribbean and then on to the American colonies. The banjo is directly related to what we would consider a family of West African lutes, which are strummed instruments as well, plucked and strummed instruments, namely the kora and the akantine. And so the way that it was played with just a single finger and the thumb. They call that stroke style. This particular banjo has 5 strings, although probably the banjos in the 1830s only had 4. They probably had this, then this, then this, and then the high string. And this high string coming out of the neck is one of the things that makes the banjo unique, because this string, all it does is drone, or the French call it a chanterelle, which means it sings. That's all it does. So, what did the early banjo sound like? Well, fortunately for history, we do know that there were musicians who were learning directly from plantation slaves. And some of those tunes were written down and published in books. And in fact, the earliest banjo tutor that we have is from 1855. And there are a number of tunes in there which almost certainly would have been what we would have considered to have been heard on the plantations. And so I'm going to play a tune for you that certainly is one of those tunes. Without a doubt, the name has changed over the years, and in the book it is simply known as the Circus Jig. But there are many little aspects and flavors about it which harken back to its roots from across the ocean into that other continent. So, the Circus Jig. Thank you for watching.